Let me tell you something that might sting a little. Every time you close your eyes and visualize your dream life, your new apartment, the money in your account, the relationship you've been wanting, and then you open your eyes and feel that gap between what you just saw and what's actually in front of you, you just pushed it further away. Not because visualization doesn't work, it absolutely works, but because you're using it wrong. You're using it as an escape instead of an instruction. There's a massive difference between those two things, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what that difference is and how to fix it. Neville Goddard said something in The Power of Awareness that stopped me cold the first time I read it. He said that to be conscious of being poor while praying for riches is to be rewarded with that which you are conscious of being, namely poverty. Let that land for a second. Your prayer doesn't matter. Your affirmation doesn't matter. Your vision board doesn't matter. Your consciousness, where your attention actually lives moment to moment, that's what's being answered. That's what the subconscious is taking as its marching orders. And most people have never once examined where their attention actually lives. They think they know. They don't. So today I'm going to break down the actual mechanics of attention. Not the Instagram version, not the oversimplified, just think positive version, the real thing. And I'm going to show you why mastering this one skill, this singular ability, is the only thing standing between you and everything you say you want. Let's get into it. If you've been doing this for a while, and I mean really doing it, scripting, visualizing, saying affirmations, maybe even doing SATs every single night before bed, and things still feel stuck, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not one of those people the law doesn't work for. There are no people the law doesn't work for. The problem is more subtle than you think, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's what's actually happening. You spend, let's say, 10 minutes in a beautiful visualization. You feel the wish fulfilled. You feel the warmth of it, the reality of it. It's vivid, it's powerful. And then you open your eyes, and you spend the other 23 hours and 50 minutes of the day attending to the exact opposite. You check your bank account and your stomach drops. You see your ex posted a story with someone new and something tightens in your chest. You sit in traffic on the way to a job you hate and you feel trapped, small, stuck. Now here's the math that nobody wants to do. That 10 minutes of beautiful imagination is fighting against nearly 24 hours of contradictory attention. And attention always wins by volume. Always. It's not even close. Neville was incredibly precise about this. In Feeling is the Secret, he laid out the mechanism plainly. The subconscious mind accepts what is felt as true, not what is visualized, not what is affirmed, not what is written down in a journal, what is felt. And here's the part most people miss. Feeling is generated not in that 10-minute session you do before bed. Feeling is generated by where your attention habitually rests throughout the entire day, every waking hour. That's the part no one wants to talk about because it's not sexy. It's not a quick hack. It's not a 3-step technique you can learn in a YouTube short. It's a fundamental rewiring of where you place your awareness, hour by hour, thought by thought. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Now, let me show you why this matters at a deeper level. Because once you understand this next piece, everything changes. Most people treat attention like a camera. You point it at things and it passively records what's there. The job is bad, so you feel bad. The bank account is low, so you feel lack. The relationship ended, so you feel rejected. That's the materialist view. The world happens to you, and your attention just observes it. Neville's entire teaching rests on the complete opposite claim. Attention is not a camera, it's a projector. In Awakened Imagination, Neville wrote something that I think is one of the most important sentences in any of his works. He said, man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. Think about what he's actually saying there. You look at your 3D reality, the circumstances, the problems, the limitations, and you think those things are causing your state. Sorry, you think the debt is causing the anxiety. You think the loneliness is causing the sadness. You think the boss is causing the frustration. Neville says no, absolutely not. Your state of consciousness came first. The 3D is a printout. It's a projection. It's a mirror reflecting back what you've been attending to internally. Let me draw this out because I think it helps to see it. Imagine a circle in the center. That's your state, your dominant feeling, your core assumption about yourself and your life. Now an arrow points outward from that circle to a larger circle around it. That larger circle is your 3D reality. Your state projects outward and creates the world you see. That's the real direction of causation. But here's what most people believe. They think there's an arrow going the other direction, from the 3D world back inward to their state. They think the outer world is causing the inner experience. And I need you to understand something. That arrow doesn't exist. It feels like it does. God, it feels like it does. When you get the rejection email, when the test comes back negative, when someone you love walks away, it absolutely feels like the world is doing something to you. But it isn't. The only arrow that's real is the one pointing outward from your state. The 3D is always, always, always the effect, never the cause. Once you actually get this, not just intellectually where you nod along and say, yeah, that makes sense, but in your bones, in the way you move through your day, the entire game changes. You stop trying to fix the 3D. You stop rearranging the furniture in the mirror and wondering why your reflection doesn't change. You stop reacting to circumstances as though they have authority over you. Instead, you go to the only place where change actually happens, your attention, because your attention determines your state. Your state determines your assumptions. And your assumptions, Neville taught, harden into fact. That's not poetry. That's the mechanism. Now here's where it gets really practical, and honestly, this might be the most important part of this entire video. Neville gave a lecture in 1968 called Control Your Inner Conversations, and I genuinely believe it's the most underrated thing he ever taught. More important than sets. More important than any specific visualization technique. He said your inner conversation, that running monologue, happening in your head right now, right this second as you're listening to me, that is the creative act. Not your meditation, not your vision board, not the scripting you did this morning, the thing you say to yourself while you're brushing your teeth, while you're making coffee, while you're driving to work, while you're lying in bed at 2 a.m, unable to sleep. That is what you're manifesting. That is the raw material your subconscious is working with all day, every day. And here's the uncomfortable part. I want you to actually try this. Pay attention to your inner conversation for one full day. Just observe it. Don't try to change it yet, just listen. Most people, and I was absolutely one of them, will discover something genuinely unsettling. The conversation is almost entirely about what you don't want. It's replaying arguments you had 3 weeks ago. It's rehearsing worst-case scenarios for meetings that haven't happened yet. It's narrating your limitations as though they're immutable facts of the universe. I can't afford that. That's never going to work for someone like me. They're probably not interested. I always end up back here. Every single one of those is an assumption, not a fact. An assumption. And Neville was absolutely explicit about this. An assumption, though false, though completely unsupported by current evidence, if persisted in, will harden into fact. That's not a warning. That's the law working perfectly. It just happens to be working against you because you're feeding it the wrong script. Let me show you what this looks like visually because I think it makes the choice clearer. Imagine 2 parallel timelines. Timeline A is your default inner conversation if you never intervene. It's a zigzag. Worry leads to lack. Lack leads to doubt. Doubt leads to fear. Fear leads to more worry, and on and on. And at the end of that timeline, what do you get? The same 3D results you've always gotten, the same patterns, the same limitations, the same frustration. Now, timeline B is what happens when you consciously direct your inner conversation. It's steadier, not perfect, not a flat line. You're human, but it holds a state. It uses phrases Neville actually taught. I remember when this used to be hard. Isn't it wonderful that this worked out? It assumes the end. It speaks from the wish fulfilled, not towards it. And at the end of that timeline, a completely different 3D printout. Same person, same circumstances to start, radically different outcome. You are always on one of these two timelines. The only question that matters is, which one are you on right now, in this moment, as you're listening to me? So, mastering your attention isn't some esoteric mystical practice where you need to sit in lotus position for an hour and empty your mind. It's so much more accessible than that. It's about catching yourself mid sentence, mid thought, when your inner conversation drifts back into the old story, the story of lack, the story of not enough, the story of this always happens to me, and choosing a different script, not fighting the old thought. This is crucial. You don't resist it. You don't get angry at yourself for having it. You just gently, deliberately redirect your attention to the conversation that matches the person you've decided to be. The person living in the end. You're not forcing anything. You're choosing. And there's a world of difference. If this is clicking for you right now, if something just shifted in how you understand what you've been doing and what you could be doing differently, hit subscribe. I mean that sincerely. What we do on this channel goes deep. This isn't surface level manifestation content where someone tells you to raise your vibration and think happy thoughts. We are breaking down the actual operating system of consciousness, lecture by lecture, concept by concept, principle by principle, the way Neville actually taught it. And the next video is going to take what we built today even further. So subscribe and let's keep building. Now let's make this completely practical. Here's what I want you to do tonight. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Tonight. Before you do your SAT session, before any visualization, before anything else, I want you to do an attention audit. Sit down, grab your phone, open your notes app, and write down the 5 inner conversations that dominated your day. Not the ones you wish you'd been having, the ones you actually had. Be ruthlessly honest with yourself. Were they conversations of someone who already has what they want? Or were they conversations of someone who's still wanting, still lacking, still waiting for the world to change first? You cannot change what you refuse to see. The audit is how you see it. Then, and this is the powerful part, I want you to use a technique Neville taught called revision. Before you fall asleep, take any event from today that triggered a state you don't want to carry forward. Maybe a conversation that went sideways. Maybe a moment where you felt small or dismissed or not enough. Maybe you checked your account and felt that familiar pit in your stomach. Whatever it was, take that event and, in your imagination, replay it the way you wish it had gone. See the conversation ending with warmth instead of tension. Feel the sense of abundance instead of the lack. Experience the respect instead of the dismissal. You're not doing this to deny what happened. You're doing it to choose which version your subconscious takes into sleep. Because Neville was absolutely adamant about this, and it comes directly from Feeling is the Secret, Chapter 2. The subconscious never sleeps. Even while your conscious mind shuts down for the night, the subconscious is building. It is always constructing. The only question is, what blueprints are you handing it at the door? Are you handing it the revised version? The version that matches your desired state? Or are you handing it the unedited footage of every fear, every doubt, every moment of lack from the day? That choice happens in the minutes before you fall asleep, and it matters more than almost anything else you do. Going forward, I want you to add one habit, just one. 3 times a day, morning, midday, and before bed, pause for 60 seconds. That's all. 60 seconds. And ask yourself one question. What am I attending to right now? And is this the state of the person who already has what I desire? If the answer is yes, beautiful, keep going. If the answer is no, redirect. Not with force, not with frustration, with the gentleness and confidence of someone who knows they are the operant power. You're not fighting your mind, you are training it. And like any training, it gets easier. The redirections get faster. The old conversations lose their grip. And one day, you realize you've been living on timeline B for so long that the 3D has quietly, almost imperceptibly, rearranged itself to match. Here's what I want you to walk away with tonight. You have never, not once in your entire life, been waiting on the world to give you permission. You have never been waiting on the right opportunity, the right person, the right timing, the right circumstances. The world doesn't initiate. It never has. It responds. It's a mirror. And the only thing it has ever been reflecting is the state you've been attending to most consistently. Not the state you want, not the state you visualize for 10 minutes. The state you attend to. The one your inner conversation returns to by default when you're not paying attention. That's what the mirror reflects. That's what hardens into fact. Neville said it as clearly and as directly as anyone in history ever has. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, but most people hear that and they think it means feel good for 10 minutes before bed. That is not what he meant. He meant live there. Make it the home address of your attention. Let your inner conversation be the conversation of someone who already has what you desire, someone for whom the wish is a memory, not a hope, not someday, not when the circumstances change. Now, in this state, with this breath. So tonight, when you close your eyes, don't just visualize, don't just affirm, attend. Place your full, undivided awareness on the version of you that already exists in the state of the wish fulfilled. And when your mind tries to pull you back to the old story, and it will, that's what minds do. Gently bring it back. Again, and again, and again. That's not failure. That repetition, that gentle returning, that is the practice. That is the mastery. And when you master your attention, when you finally take control of the one thing that was always yours to command, the 3D world has no choice but to bend. It was never the other way around. I'll see you in the next one.